Resident Evil 3 is almost exactly what fans of the original have been asking for. More exploration, more action, and more Nemesis gives the game a distinctive personality that is separate from last year's Resident Evil 2 remake. It is a modern reimagining of an action survival classic that maybe rolls its credits a little too quickly and offers little in the way of replayability. Players once again explore Raccoon City as Jill Valentine, one of the surviving STARS members of the original Resident Evil. With the help of Carlos Oliveira and some of Umbrella's hired guns, Jill must escape Raccoon City as it begins to fall to a zombie outbreak. Unfortunately for Jill, Umbrella's most terrifying tyrant, Nemesis, is on the hunt for any surviving STARS members. While the characters in the setting are still the same, the story beats are a little different. Characters that showed up at certain points in the original game now show up under different circumstances, adding some welcome change from the original. Raccoon City itself has been upgraded. While we got a peek in last year's Resident Evil 2, 3 really opens up the city for exploration. Built within the RE engine, the game looks stunning running on a PlayStation 4 Pro. Buildings of Raccoon City look textured and well-worn, and the streets are gorgeously gored up. Even though the environment is opened up more for exploration, the ensuing chaos and multiple zombies on screen gives these sections a claustrophobic feel. The characters themselves look equally amazing. The facial work from recent Resident Evil titles continues to amaze, with characters like Jill displaying nuanced facial expressions and accurate skin tones. The zombies and bioweapons are nasty looking, but in the best way possible. The undead glisten with blood and other shiny fluids, making them look as if they're ready to burst. And burst they do when Jill uses her arsenal on them. However, it seems like some of the zombies were reused from last year's remake. Being that Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 were developed around a similar time, it's no surprise that some of the assets were reused. That being said, it would have been nice to see more variety in their appearances. That zombie with the yellow safety vest has probably appeared in more Resident Evil games than Jill herself at this point. With zombies roaming the streets and a killing machine chasing you, Resident Evil 3 sports a markedly quicker tempo over last year's remake. Jill has the ability to dodge incoming attacks with the press of a button, something Leon and Claire didn't have in Resident Evil 2. It's a very helpful game mechanic, as the game likes to put players in situations where they can be easily overwhelmed, especially when Nemesis shows up. If the dodge is timed right, however, time slows down for a brief instance, allowing you to line up a precise shot. The game also features more ammo across the board, a necessity with more zombies trying to eat you. Unfortunately, inventory management is still annoying, with pouch space being in short supply. Sure, you can unlock more space as the game goes on, but by then you've probably already tossed or just left some items behind. Another mechanic that makes a return is the trusty knife. Mercifully, the knife doesn't break after a few uses in this game, so using it to make sure zombies stay dead is a useful tactic. But be careful though, as missing the zombie's head can lead to an unwelcome surprise. Speaking of surprises, Resident Evil 3 also lets you play as Umbrella mercenary Carlos Oliveira, packing an assault rifle and slick right hand instead of a dodge like Jill. Playing as Carlos is a fun diversion. Even with all that firepower though, there are still monsters that will test the player's will to survive. But of all the monsters that pose a threat to you, none of them are more terrifying than a surprise visit from the game's titular tyrant. He can use weapons, bust through the walls, and run at you at full speed. And that was before the remake. He still does those things, but now he has a few terrifying new abilities. From the beginning, the game makes it abundantly clear how much of a threat Nemesis will be throughout the story. He will continually pursue Jill through the streets of Raccoon City, and he can appear when you least expect it. As the story progresses, encounters with Nemesis evolve into full-blown boss battles where escape isn't an option. These fights hone in on an enclosed area where using the supplies in the environment are key. As entertaining as these set pieces are in their own right, nothing can really match the adrenaline of being chased by Nemesis. Resident Evil 3's campaign is relatively short, topping out at around 10 hours depending on how quickly you work through the areas and collect the items. Unfortunately, it lacks the same kind of replayability of Resident Evil 2. Regardless of its short length, there's no denying that Resident Evil 3 succeeds at modernizing a classic. Capcom has found the secret sauce that makes 20-year-old games fun again. Whether the next entry is a remake or a true sequel, Resident Evil 3 is an excellent example of what makes the franchise special and what could be in store for the future. For more on Resident Evil 3, check out the full written review on dailytitan.com.